The EV collapse of 2026. What actually went wrong? So I think this is one of the more important things as far as the EV space goes. And this is so important, in fact, that I think if somebody's going to go back and look at the EV life cycle, I guess you could say, from the beginning towards the end, and they would write a book about it, this is going to be a time of before 2026 and after 2026. And I say that because there are huge changes as far as major manufacturers go, and even Tesla themselves. They've made some big changes too that I think are, like I said, there's going to be a definite time before and after 2026. So let's see. Let's start off with the big guys. Let's start off with Ford and GM. And I have some notes over here. If you see my eyes kind of go over, whoop, it's because I'm checking my notes because I know you EV people are different. And if I miss something, I'm going to get lit up in the comments. So wrote down some notes. So let's take a look and kind of see what's going on here. As far as, let's see, Ford goes, we've all kind of seen Ford pull back, especially last year, Q4 of 2025. We've kind of noticed that Ford's been kind of backpedaling and slowing down some of their EV production and whatnot. So that's not a surprise to us that way. GM has been slowing down too, but we actually have more numbers on GM than I do on Ford, which is really interesting. Is that last year, well, in January 2026, so this year, Q1, they did $6 billion in write-downs. And what write-downs are, I copy and pasted this definition right here so you guys don't light me up. A write-down in accounting is reduction in the book value of an asset when its market value falls below its recorded cost, aligning the balance sheet with current reality. So basically, GM is saying, hey, our facilities right now, with what they're producing, $6 billion loss. Yikes, that is rough. But of course, of course, oh, and I've said it before, and I'm so sorry for picking on Stellantis. But of course, Stellantis is doing worse, and worse than GM. Their number is $27 billion in write downs. I think that is ridiculous, but that's the Stellantis fashion, I guess. Oh, and then Tesla. Tesla. This is where things are actually shocking to me. I would never thought they would have done this at all. I thought they would have found other ways than to do what they're doing. But what they're doing is that they are cutting their Model S and they're cutting their Model X. Okay, so the Model S is going to be like the little more sleek one, a little more sexy one. Looks more Aston Martin-y than really anything else that they make. Looks really good, really low, really wide, looks nice and sporty. The X is the ugly one. So the X is the huge one with the gull wing doors that pop up on it. So, I mean, if that's what you're into, great. But Tesla is cutting down production on the S and on the X because they are not making money off of them really anymore. They are not doing what they anticipated them to do. Let's see. The last number I have on them is that in 2025 they sold 59,900 of those S's and X's. Whereas with the Model 3 and Model Y, the ones that they're keeping, and the Model 3 looks more like, if you remember the Mazda 3, like 2000, what, 7, 9-ish? Kind of round, kind of just pedestrian, just a car, a car. That's what their Model 3 is it's just a car. But since it's less expensive, that is going to be one of their highest sellers, that Model 3 and the Model Y. And like I said before, as far as the S's and the X's go, they sold 59,900, so 60,000 units. Okay. Well, in the same time frame, Tesla sold 1.6 million of the Model 3s and Model Ys. So, yeah, why would you continue to push that rope with the S's and X's? So then you're thinking, okay, well, what are they going to do? They've got all these facilities everywhere making, those S's and those X's. What's going to happen now? So Elon, bless his heart, He said, "Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the Fremont factory that produces, those S's and X's normally, and we're gonna convert it over to make that new Optimus humanoid robot." Okay, so that's terrifying. What's even more terrifying is that he said that when it's fully operational, they're gonna be putting out about 1,000,000. So fully operational out of that factory, 1,000,000 humanoid robots. That is absolutely terrifying. But that's had to kinda sneak that in there because otherwise, what do I do with all those factories? It makes no sense. But stopping the S's and the X's, that does make sense to cut those out. And then as far as, um, the industry as a whole, at that Detroit Auto Show 2026, there was more focus on things like hybrids, and there was more focus on updating gas cars and making those more efficient, which I think is the smarter move. As I've said in my previous videos, I don't think that EV is the way, but I do think that hybrid is the way because EVs, I mean, they're great in certain situations. I have a wonderful golf cart that's electric, and it is great for its certain situation. And I feel like EVs are the same. They're great city cars. As for long distance cars, not so much. I had told my wife, I said, "Hey, I would love to get an EV if it can meet the strict requirements of charging in 15 minutes, 0 to 100%, 15 minutes, and also having a 500-mile range." So we were kind of getting in that direction. We were getting close. Um, but I think that's gonna this shift away from EV being the hot ticket, the hot commodity, the new hotness, the sexy thing. With that shifting away, I don't think that we're going to see a lot of improvement in batteries and whatnot. If you think about it, because if you're a car person, you know the whole STI and Evo situation with Subaru and Mitsubishi. They go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and with having that competition that helped both cars get increasingly better and improving. Well, as soon as the Evo dropped out, Evo 10 was the last model. As soon as the Evo dropped out, STI has been kind of stale. It's just been stagnant. And I know for a fact that if they still had the Evo out there, then the STI would be a little more spicy than it is now. So I feel that. But now bringing that into the EV world, I don't think that people are going to be putting a whole lot of technology into, batteries, into how fast they charge, into how long they can actually hold on to that charge as far as range goes. And I think that's just going to be something that is going to fade. This, I think, right now, well, I guess Q4 of 2025 would have been the highest point of technology put into EVs. So once again, if you look at a book that's written 10 years from now and it talks about the history of the EVs, there's going to be a mark that's going to be 2026 before, 2026 after. And that's going to be telling us, okay, that's when the industry shifted. That's when nobody really cared as much because there's always going to be EVs. There's always going to be gas cars. There's always going to be hybrids no matter what. They're each going to have their own little certain sections where they're great and also little parts where they are um, not terrible because everything right now is actually pretty good. Where it's not the best option. Like long car rides in the EV, going east to west, coast to coast, that's never going to beat a gas car as far as total travel time. Especially now since people have dropped the excitement and they're not going to be dropping R&D costs and development into something else, into hybrids, into making gasoline engines, more powerful, more horsepower per liter, and just overall more efficient. I think that's going to be the way things are going to be going. As far as EVs go, I wouldn't say I'm sad that they're leaving. I'm sad that there's a lot of people who've lost a lot of money and who are going to be losing a lot of sleep in the future, thinking that this is the way. EVs are the way. Everything else is going to be obsolete. Kind of those snarky Tesla people with the funny number plate things. Those people. I'm kind of sad that they're going to be bummed out about it because when I was growing up, my dad taught me you cheer that your team wins. You don't cheer that the other team loses. I think that's kind of the way I'm kind of perceiving things is EVs were cool, they were great, they're fast, stupid fast, which is awesome. I think that kinda woke up the gasoline industry as saying, "Hey, these cars are going this fast, and your cars too have been hovering around 0 to 60 around 4.5, 4.5, 5 seconds for some of those more easily attainable cars." They now need to find a way to put more technology into them that way. But it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the future with all that R&D money now shifted from EVs to normal gas cars, to relatively normal hybrids. They're gonna find a way to make it work to be, the best option out there, and I'm glad that there is so much competition in this space. I'm glad that that's gonna be, sharpening everybody's pencils, kinda figure out what they can do, how they can make things better, and that's gonna be fun. Now I know that, was it the BYD or is it's BYD out of China, that EV company. Now that, the big manufacturers are kinda holding off, I know that they're gonna eventually kinda swoop in there and try to do something, but with the tariffs and whatnot going on, um, that Trump put out, that's gonna be really interesting to see how they do. But if those tariffs weren't there, they would be flooding the market right now, because they can smell that blood in the water with everybody kinda backing off on EVs, that's right up their alleys. They're ready to bring it and make a decent car. So, that's really the big thing is that people are pulling away from production. There's gonna be a pre-2026, post-2026 section of EVs. Mark my words, companies are shifting, they're realizing, "Hey, maybe everybody who wanted an EV, maybe they already bought one?" Because with the variants of, cheaper EVs and then the more expensive models out there, I truthfully think that everybody who wanted one who could afford to buy one anyways, not the people who want one who can't afford it anyways, the people who want to buy one, the people who could afford one already bought one. And now they don't want them anymore. They want them for their specific reasons, but now they've already I feel like that's ran its course. So we'll see what happens in the future. Let me know how off base I was with my prediction. I was right on with my prediction of EVs coming and going and hybrids being the future. So I will put that little feather in my cap. But let me know how I was doing. If you're a big EV person, what do you think? Now that the writing's on the wall, now that everybody has said this is no longer the direction, how does that make you feel? Let me know. Thanks.